and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. We are the Dudley Boys of What Culture. I'm Adam Wilbourn, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, here to review everything that happened on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review AEW Dynamite, but also AEW Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. Pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a round of the week complete with a very good quiz, of course, on wrestle culture. As I said, though, joined by Hamflett and Sidgwick to review last night's AEW Dynamite and all the fallouts from AEW Revolution.
This was not an ideal follow-up to a pay-per-view that felt massive, looked massive, went some way towards, hate the phrase, but restoring the feeling, okay? I will say that I don't necessarily think it was absolutely everything to do with the performances. Some of them I thought were tremendous last night. Or what was strange about this was the shift in scale from a 10,000-seater LA pay-per-view. It looks sleek as well to the TV. So that shift was very, very noticeable. It was a company that felt big.
Yeah.
It felt big at Revolution. Of course, it's not going to feel that big. And because it wasn't one of these really cool, intimate, unique-looking venues, it felt like the crowd were quite good throughout. But it did feel like one of those, they're clearly struggling to really fill an absolutely massive building. It just had that kind of vibe, which didn't help. But ultimately, right, I'm not going to do any catastrophizing. There's some stuff on this show that I thought didn't belong. There's some stuff on this show that I didn't particularly like. And there's one bit of disastrous pro wrestling on it. But I don't want to do the whole, AEW's in trouble and all that rubbish. This was a table-setting episode. It showed you directions for the next however many pay-per-views. And I think, or rather, more importantly, I feel that there's a lot of stuff to look forward to and that I absolutely trust them to get right. I feel like they're going to have their cake and eat it too with a lot of heat before, the vision is saved or whatever. But I think that might not be the worst idea. But we'll get into everything. And, look, Hamflett used a word, and I'm going to throw to him imminently, that basically summarized how I felt about it over the desks this morning. But if you're thinking, it's a bit of a, not a downbeat podcast, but not the most full of beans podcast, here's some naked retention strategy for you. I've got a take that I'm not even sure I believe, but it's a pretty wild hypothesis that I've got for later on in this show.
It's nice to have you on a Collision review podcast once.
That's good stuff. Is that a little bit of a vibe of it?
Yeah. No, Collision's not all bad. Like people take that as but yeah, it was. But then again, like at the end of the day, a lot of people nearly died on Sunday. So for them to just be like, go and work 20 minutes again. I do understand it, obviously.
Yeah, it was flat.
Yeah,
from an atmosphere point of view, it was. I still like. I've said this a few weeks now. I like re-entering the world of AEW on a Wednesday.
You put those fans in a 5,000-seater building, and it's hot. It's really hot because they were up for Bailey and all the rest of it. They were up for a lot of this.
Stayed up to watch it, didn't they?
It was midnight. I was up anyway, and I was like, I'm going to treat myself and see how it goes. And then, the first couple of segments, I'm quite into this wrestler. Oh, we're getting to these two again. But I thought, you've left. You left it, and then I was really starting to flag, and then I fell asleep. The stuff that I like, I continue to like. And I say that because in the last few weeks, it hasn't just been about Revolution. It's about destroying the zones. It's about fantasy booking that we can do with logic rather than hope. It's about seeing loads of bigger pictures for the characters emerging beyond just the story they're in at the time. The way that you should feel about a promotion when it's finding its groove as a storytelling company again, which I think AEW is. So I still saw plenty of positives here, but I think, as Sid just pointed out there, the gulf was jarring. The whole show, the gulf between where we were at with Sunday and where we were at with Wednesday was jarring. But you can get away with it on these weeks. I welcome the return to the smaller buildings in this relatively short build.
I think this was an aberration.
Yeah, a short build to pay-per-view and some smaller buildings again. I kind of don't have any fear for the quality of these Dynamites. I still don't. There was large elements to the show that I really enjoyed.
Same.
It's the characters. I still think this is big picture AEW conversation, but I just sense there was quite a few segments here that we'll end up not having loads to say on. But we were talking about this yesterday. So I believe firmly that Hangman and Swerve is the tree. So they've got the tree. I really believe that. But for sure that I'm enjoying.
It's not, but carry on.
For sure that I'm enjoying end to end. Like, I'm enjoying way more of the characters than I'm not, right? So even when there's something I don't like, it's all right because there's too much of it I'm into. It is lacking for me, like that one undeniable red or white hot thing, whether that's a wrestler, whether that's an angle, a story, something. It's still, they've not found it yet.
Bubbling under a few things.
Yeah. There is just something I used yesterday when we were talking about this, like Steve Austin in 1997. That's kind of one of the differences between 96 and 97. The creative is more similar in WWF, but it's lacking that obvious, he's going to change the world. And we've got this thing that is going to change everything and justify these various creative moves. I'm not yet seeing that in AEW, but you don't need one all the time. I'd like one. I'd like there to be something guaranteed every week that I was sitting down for. I'm into this. And they're still to come. Like, that's what's missing for me at the moment. But there's not much bad stuff. There's not much complete outright trash anymore in AEW.
So yeah, we open Dynamite, which comes from picking on between 1 and 19.
4.
It comes from the Save Fart Center in Fresno, of course.
Yeah.
And Kenny Omega comes out to his Battle Cry theme. Big pyro, huge ovation, of course, for him. Gets on the mic and says this is all still so wild to him before 2025. He was more than happy just to stand in the ring and say he was cleared to try and do this again. What makes it feel like a dream is that we're barely into the year, but thanks to the fans, doctors, and someone he thought he'd never call a friend, Will Ospreay, not only is he back, and there's you deserve it chance for this, he's back holding not just a title, but a singles title. He's got one final person he wants to thank, controversial as it may be, Konosuke Takeshita, who pushed him harder than he ever imagined. If it wasn't for Takeshita dragging him to a place he needed to be, he wouldn't be here in front of these people. So thanks, Takeshita, for making this a true international title. He brings up the international title eliminator tournament, of course, thinks it's a great idea. It will determine who's the best on the planet. The planet has continents in it, just worth a note then that. Omega's going to be watching. And he hits the goodbye and goodnight line and celebrates with the fans.
The sort of promo that people have wanted to hear and see from Kenny Omega for about, 6 years at this point, without being blow away great. People have wanted Kenny Omega from day one to be the babyface ace of the promotion. There are a lot of fans out there who gravitated towards AEW in the first place because they thought, all right, okay, well, Kenny Omega is the guy who had the matches with Okada and Jericho, and he was a big part of BTE, and he was like, if it's not Cody, if Cody's the heart of this movement, then like Kenny Omega's like the muscle, you know?
He said he was the best wrestler, and then he was.
And then he said he was the
like, he always proved himself correct. Yeah.
So people wanted, all right, okay, well, you know, New Japan, it doesn't have that episodic TV. There are certain people who loved what they saw of New Japan, but were quite casual about it in terms of they didn't watch every single tag on the road to or whatever. They wanted an accessible New Japan with more elements of American TV. Yeah. And that's why AEW like spoke so strongly to them. They have wanted this or a similar version of this version of Kenny Omega for 6 years. So it's not a surprise to me that everyone loves this. Not much to analyze. He was simply very humble, thanked the fans, said he couldn't do it without them, promised more good stuff to come. That is the absolute limit of the analysis, really. Yeah. But I said it on the Revolution review, which if you've somehow missed, you can still get wherever you get your podcasts from, that this older, less explosive, less sort of technically and physically immaculate and less aloof Kenny Omega, it's already working so much for me, and this promo was a continuation of that, of he knows deep down that, I mean, he's an international champion, so you have to tread carefully with this kind of promo, but he's basically saying, I thought it was totally finished, and I'm not, and I think you guys and your support of me is a huge part of that. And I know there's just a warmth to this version of Kenny Omega where I've never, in a live mic in AEW, he was a great, great heel in 2021. I loved the belt collector run, But part of it was in order to further rub Hangman Page's nose in the fact that you're not elite, you're not like me in the Bucks. Like we are, we clear you. You're just not good enough to be like on our level. He played almost like a knowing caricature of a sports entertainment villain. We talked about the Michael Cole stuff, and like he was like playing almost deliberately like a caricature of what a top star or how a top heel carries himself. This is like a way more real version of Kenny, a warmer version of Kenny, a far more human version of Kenny, who was so great that you could literally call him a wrestling god and believe it. And I love it. I think it's the way forward. I think you'll still get an edge from him at some point. But yeah.
Loved it. Content almost didn't matter, and there wasn't much to it, but I loved it all the same. I care deeply. I'm sure plenty would argue too much about presentation of a wrestling show, often more than the wrestling show. And for me, and I don't want this to become some sort of like, but when they do things that WWE does, it makes them worse. But for me, there has been this gap in the way AEW presents some of its stars and some of its champions in the way that I believe there should be a space to celebrate simply winning a title. The champion has earned the right to come out and just chat because he's just won a title. He's just had this significant victory. And
there was a lot of like selling the ramifications of matches on this show, which is one of the things I appreciated about this Dynamite.
It's like, I understand the need to be wrestling forward. I do get that. And especially when it can separate you from your competition. However, like, the prize is what all of it is supposed to lead to. So then if you can't smell the roses, like, it's almost like you're not being, maybe this is my personal experience as a fan, you're sometimes not being permitted to like let that celebration carry on, because it's like, oh no, we've got to have this like tag match with these completely different wrestlers. It's like, if he hadn't been on Dynamite last night, I might not have said it on this podcast, but subconsciously I would have been thinking, where was Kenny Omega? You know, like I would have really liked to have heard from Kenny Omega. And that's why I say the content of this promo didn't particularly matter. I liked getting to watch him do a very, very long entrance where his music played out, because there was just that many fans that wanted to be around him.
Yeah.
Like that character.
Slapping hands, wasn't he?
That character felt more whole because he was about to thank the people and basically say they were the 12th man. And he'd already proven that by just walking out the ring and taking ages to get there, because he wanted to spend as much time with them as possible. That's the babyface character. That's a champion celebrating the moment that they've earned, and it kicks off a reign. It, like, if I booked territory, it would go out of business straight away. But like, I'd start shows like this all the time. Like, this is like not as important part of the winning the title, but it's an integral part of the start of the new reign. Like, I think there's plenty of champions that have been done dirty by not getting something as simple as this. And for Kenny Omega especially, he's a guy that would probably not have many moments like this. Yeah. Certainly not enough, and definitely not as a babyface. So I love Kenny getting this.
And they're laying out the breadcrumbs eventually. Obviously, we reported in the news today about this unification
aggregated
match. Yes. For him and whoever the Continental Champion is, of course. But they're laying that out. But I did also appreciate, and you know, it's something they've done before, him not saying, you know, a lot of names have been ricocheting around as to who I should, like just, I know he's going to win the four-way now next week. We don't know.
No, there wasn't signposted.
Yeah. There's a nice moment, I will say, as he's leaving and the ops are coming out. A nice moment between him and Shibata, obviously, who's facing Ricochet.
That was good. Like, actually, like a lot of stuff that AEW gets rightly, in my opinion, or rightfully criticized for, various things that there was like, it's almost like parts of this episode were a response to that. Ricochet staked his claim for winning the series. Shibata going eye to eye with Kenny Omega was either a red herring or a bit of foreshadowing, whatever it turns out to be, you know? Like, almost the opposite of signposting.
Yeah.
With this international stuff.
But the ops were coming out to face Eli Theseus, Vinny Pacifico, and Gabriel Eros. And they squashed them, obviously. They just battered them. Everyone took turns in beating the crap out of these poor lads. Joe lit up Theseus in the corner with strikes. Hook tripped Pacifico as he tried to take him out. And Shibata hit a corner stalling drop kick, rear naked choke, and a PK for the 1-2-3.
Yep.
Sidge's...
I mean, this is a total waste of time,
I
think. Maybe it'll become apparent in 1 or 2 weeks where it's like, the ops are going to face the Death Riders, a dynasty, you know, for the titles. That's why they've been getting these sort of pointless wins. Maybe it'll become clear why this is happening.
I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong or if my mind is changed on an act like the Ops. But I think a lot when I see the Ops and certain other acts like them, I think of Sidgwick's point about when he says, and it's WWE especially, when there are wrestlers that feel like they're talking to you and there are wrestlers that feel like they're reciting the words they said to the mirror earlier on that day, the Ops feel like they've practiced being badasses in the mirror and then come out and perform.
And two of them genuinely are.
Yeah, and this is it, right? Yeah, but they come out and it feels like they've practiced what it looks like to be a badass, and then they've gone out and done it like they're walking out. Elements of it. I get it all. And if you're like an Ops guy, I get why that would be your thing, but I can't help feeling like I'm watching, two legitimately hard guys and one that's very good at playing one, doing like performative hard stuff. It's just not there for me at all.
It's just something cute about it. You know, like a bit try hard.
Yeah.
When there are two guys who are effortless badasses, it's a weird thing that I can't really crack.
Ricochet's backstage and says, despite being screwed at Revolution, that doesn't mean his quest for gold is over. Didn't want the Embassy Road anyway, it's ugly, so didn't want it. The gold Kenny Omega's holding looks much better. He knows all about Shibata, and he gives him the option to quit now, not show up on Collision. And he's afraid that Shibata won't have his translator app to tell everyone that Ricky beat his ass. Dickhead.
As Excalibur pointed out, Shibata kept training and training when he was told you nearly died and there's not a hope in hell's chance you're ever coming back. Like, he started expressing the belief that he could make a comeback before AEW even existed. So,
and they'd scooped his brain out and put it back in.
I was going to say, it's the man who's had his brain removed versus Shibata on Collision.
Every time someone's a bit thick on socials, he can use that joke. So for Ricochet to say that, as Excalibur pointed out, was a pretty good line.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that on Saturday.
The closest equivalent match that I can use for precedent, and maybe Ricochet has gone from strength to strength since the Wrestle Dynasty main event against Zack Sabre Jr., where Ricochet against a submission guy who can strike really well. Very different wrestlers, but not too dissimilar. Zack Sabre Jr. and Shibata wasn't exactly great from Ricochet.
He wasn't as much of a dickhead as he is now.
Oh, he's better. He gets better like most weeks, and he's I think he's finally started to crack the in-ring of it all. Especially in this.
He felt like he was pulling back on it in the Zack Sabre Jr. match.
Yeah.
It was almost like there was a dissonance between who he'd become on AEW and who he was there.
Yeah. So maybe it'll be better.
We get a highlight package of all the great stuff at Revolution and Mox and Cope. And then we're told that we're getting Mox and Cope again next week in a street fight for the AEW World title, with the winner facing Swerve at Dynasty. Mox versus Cope. Sid, your thoughts?
Sometimes dad is better. I don't want to go down that road. I've already been on the road of Revolution. I don't want to go down that road.
I have a lot of on that rod.
I have a lot of boring on that road.
I did think when they announced this, like, we're gonna have another match between Mox and Cope. I did think,
you're joking. Not another one?
I mean, it's just I wonder. I'm probably gonna step on the dick of the next 10 previews, right?
Yes.
But Mox beats Cope potentially if Swerve motions to interfere, but much like Jay White strikes Cope, who's getting paranoid now because of the Jay White business at Revolution, starts thinking, well, you know, if people are going to screw me out, to screw them right back, I'm Cope. So maybe, you know, Swerve to Mox. Cope versus Mox. Swerve gets in the way. Cope, I'll get in the way of Swerve versus Mox at Dynasty, actually. So maybe this is why that match is happening, because it's all been like sort of set out. Or maybe they've decided, let's do another rundown. Let's do another run-up at this, rather, because the match at Revolution was rubbish. People hated it. It has done nothing for either man. Let's just retcon it, in effect, and do a much better version with shortcuts. It's the street fight on TV. Then again, they had shortcuts in Brisbane, and that was tedious as well. So, yeah, I'm not looking forward to this, but I understand potentially, narratively, why it's actually happening. Can't be arsed.
Stacking next week's show, on paper at least, Street Fight for the world title and a 4-way to determine who faces Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Big show next week.
I thought they should have just done some of the stuff they'll inevitably do next week at Revolution. I think I'd suggested they should just redo the Flaming Table Spear. Moxley likes all that stuff anyway.
Redo your idea, which they were never going to do.
No, redo this from WrestleMania 22.
Oh, right. Okay.
But they should do it because it needed something and it had nothing.
They probably will do that.
Yeah, they'll do that sort of.
Nasty bet.
Spike Kid. I think Spike will come back.
Spike, yeah.
Just
The spike, the move, like the spike, the weapon that no one can use or take. It's so. You know what? You don't have a podcast. It's so. I hate Spike and I hate Cope.
fine margins in wrestling as well, because that match was so crap at Revolution and the story has been rubbish and there's just no faith in either of these guys to do anything good at the moment, that when you are invested in characters or stories or whatever, not that they can say anything, but they can say most things. They could stumble bumbo. They could have a week where it's not quite as hot as it was the prior week, but you're just with it. So it's like, that's fine. That can happen. Like, I would say that the Cope and Swerve interaction and then the Moxley promo, if this was good, would both be really well received today. Because it's bad, I hated them both. Like, I thought Mox came across like such a phony faker, again, performing the version that I once loved. Like the...
He was always honest.
Yeah.
Now he ain't.
It doesn't feel honest, does it? It doesn't. It feels like, what makes me sound like the John Moxley that people adored? I'll do a bit of that. But John, you're a heel. Shut up. And then like, and Cope, I said to Steve Sidge, Cope just loves being old. He loves being older than ever. It's like
Grizzled.
the opposite. It's like the opposite of me at WhatCulture. He loves being
Grizzled
older than
old
everybody else.
veteran, grit your teeth.
There's nobody he can't say kid to, and he gets off on that. Like,
Kid. You saying? Are you saying Cope gets off on kids?
God no.
That's what you said. So you might want to clarify what you said.
Gets off on calling people kid.
Okay.
Because there is a wrestler thing.
Still a bit sus.
A bit like this week when, like, and it's not even taking
Hamflett said
that.
it.
It's not taking that much detective work, but people have been tweeting like, you know, it's how Cope's done no fucking jobs, and everybody's gone, oh yeah, he's not, is he? And it like completely pulls away at this idea that he's here for the young guys and all that sort of stuff.
Stop it.
It's that wrestler thing where there are a million different ways that they can subtly bury people, or at very least, like, put themselves over with something that you hadn't really thought about. Like, you can't do that to Swerve Strickland. Let me tell you, as a viewer, Swerve Strickland is just cooler than you, and I don't care what your age and experience gap is. Swerve Strickland's cooler than you, and he's more
I don't care
credible.
that Swerve Strickland had a broken neck and came back as he didn't, and you did, but I still like Swerve more.
He's better, mate. And you're trying to like, hey, young guy, I'm older, ergo better. I don't know. You can't just do that.
Yeah, there was a heel edge to this. Pun intended.
Heel edge, good stuff.
No, it's not good stuff.
Yeah, I'll mention.
Don't play with words, just say them.
Do you want me to run through this and then you give your thoughts on what
I
happened?
gave my thoughts after you run through it. Yeah.
We catch up with Swerve on Sunday. Cameron asks when he wants to fight for the AEW title.
Rated R nonce.
Shut up, man.
Swerve's a bit of it now.
Swerve says last year at Dynasty, Strickland made history, become the first AEW Black World Champion. This year he's going to do it again. When Cope walks in, says, I didn't lose tonight. There's still a chance I could be AEW
Never
World
do.
Champion.
So, what does that tell you?
Still a chance I could be World Champion by the time Dynasty gets here. Maybe you'll be looking across the ring at me, kid.
Stop saying kid.
They bump fists. There's a little nod of respect there.
Yeah, Cope's turning heel. Cope's turning heel, and he's going to work Swerve at Double or Nothing or even All In. Is the trajectory for this?
Sorry, just thought about
But people will be pretty happy to boo him at this point because he's absolutely the bed. I don't want to go down that road.
Well, love, we had that saving grace the other week. I bought all these bloody scissors, and then Ricochet and Swerve came in immediately after each other and bought that, but I don't know what I've done. I've sunk all that money into another big chair. If only nothing's going to happen there. Cling. What's up, kid?
Cope, I'm not being funny. He's right. The WrestleMania 36 match with Randy Orton is diabolical.
That were diabolical.
That were diabolical. The best thing about that match was that screenshot of Meltzer, Alvarez, Sapp, and Satin.
Oh, yeah.
Consecutive tweets. Great. Right. Edge then does this you know, he's so boring, really, that he wins the Rumble the year after, and like within weeks, people are like,
It's getting go away in the Thunderdome.
how's that
How
possible?
do you do
And everyone's like, him.
How have they had to do a yes movement from behind screens?
Yeah, him. And it's like, well, they're drafting someone who's actually a great and who's actually really interesting, and Brian, and he joins the triple threat. Beyond that, okay, there's a match with Seth Rollins in Hell in a Cell that's quite well crafted, right? And it's nothing that anyone will ever put in the top 100 WWE matches, really, or like the very best highlight reel moments of either Edge's career or Seth Rollins' career. God, fuck, gee, remember that bloody feud with Edge? It was very, very respectable. Is the absolute ceiling Cope has reached. So you go from that, and then the head of the heel Judgment Day, the disembodied head, of the Judgment Day, with his big stupid chair,
and his big vein.
With the scales.
When he would sit atop the mountain of omnipotence.
Correct. Yep. Yes.
And now this Cope versus, it's been a rubbish comeback.
It's weird, right? So when you're saying about like top 100 matches, none of them, no, God, like nothing he's done would make that list. I was thinking like there are two Edge pops.
It was good ones, wasn't he?
That might make genuinely the hit. Like if I really sat and thought about top 100 WWE moments, he comes out in that Bloodline versus Edge and the Mysterios match, the first SmackDown when crowds are back in, and that I watched that Edge entrance. I mean, it was the start of "Give it to me, I need this." But I mean, I kind of did need this.
Yeah,
and that pop,
we all needed it. Yeah,
goosebumps pop he gets. And then we had the IRL one at Clash at the Castle. And I'm thinking of those two, and I'm like, that was real. But it's some of that stolen valor because it's just people getting to see a guy they thought was done, and they didn't. They
lost echoes of the Rumble return.
They lost the chance for 10 years to just like receive this legend as the guy that we were told he was for all this time, and now you're getting one opportunity to have this massive pop for a guy. It's not rooted in anything he's really done post 2020, and
he did have the greatest wrestling match ever.
So I will be happy to cheer him if he turns heel.
The Roman Reigns Singles match was nout. Nobody. That was from that Reigns Turcarino run in 2021.
The fact that he was just like, well, put Brian in there.
Oh, the WrestleMania one was fantastic, but all the singles matches that followed, where Roman was just
like... in the build to that, they went, like, remember when he was like, maybe I'll show up on this show? Ratings tanked.
Turned heel a bit, because he was just a miserable bastard. Like, he got cheered at that 37, and it was like, oh, I didn't expect that, because you've been this just bore on television.
The thing is, he's never, ever been a great and over singles babyface. People forget that he got booed in his own hometown, SummerSlam 2004.
Yeah.
He had the great heel run in the 2000s, but then has some of that to do with the fact that the 2000s largely were awful? Who's to say?
The 2002 run was like too try hard for it. Like he was doing what he thought he needed to do. But I think even he'd go, hey, I'm on a number 95. He couldn't have been more mid card.
Yeah,
he was not being.
Some really good in-ring showings there.
Yeah.
Some really good in-ring showings there, but then character just wasn't over. Then it just didn't work, and he was getting booed, and then. He comes back, he turns heel. That's when he has his main event run and his Hall of Fame credentials are solidified and all the rest of it. Then he gets that injury, comes back, spear. Terrible. Yeah? And then, so you think, all right, okay, well, he's not a great baby face. Maybe that accounts as to why a lot of that WWE return run was so dishwater dull. Then, all right, he turns heel again. It's about time. He's good at this. Is he? Because this sucks. And he comes to AEW and it's like, again, you can't call yourself Cope if the fans aren't like being like endeared. Like term of it, like, I love the Cobra. Cope has been great in AEW, hasn't he? No one's saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if John Moxley went, I'm Mox now, that's very different, isn't it? Because everyone just says, we just say Mox. It's shorthand for it. No one was
That's
going...
the ultimate tell as to why it just feels so fake.
Call me Sex Haver.
Wearing bright neon for his NWA title match.
That was stolen valor. I was like, take that off now.
A gritty, grindy, like NWA style title fight. When neon.
It's the shop again. It's like, what have you done? That's the brightest shade of green material you could ever have. Nobody's going to want that, not least considering how gritty their main event is. Really?
Sorry, just you were talking there. I had to dig it up again. I found the tweet thread, by the way, from Orton versus Edge.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a
Good
really
stuff.
long match at WrestleMania that you mentioned. I'm not going to read these in order but it's better to read it this way. Sean Ross Sapp. This has been a lot of the same thing for a long time. Brian Alvarez. This is officially going way too long. Dave Meltzer. I was ready to confess to crimes if they'd end this Chinese water torture match 8 minutes ago. Ryan Sain. Love the creativity and intensity in this match. Feels like a real fight, which fits the feud more than a regular wrestling match would have. Killer work from Edge and Orton.
Hashtag WrestleMania.
Yes.
Like, just like, leaves a space.
I miss him. I miss Sain.
There's plenty of dickheads to go around.
He's got like a...
You sat next to one.
You're not that bad.
Thanks, mate.
He's got like a shooting on the Fed deal at the moment, isn't he? Satin.
I don't pay attention.
The odd time he appears on my For You, he's kind of like doing the sort of, what the hell happened to this business? It's like, you were caping the worst version of it, pal.
Yeah.
That's what. Like,
Got better. But Mox, it cuts to Mox, after this. What do they used to call Cope? The world's biggest opportunist. He scored the winning shot at Revolution, but he shouldn't have been in that position. Mox, this is. He should have finished off Cope before Christian Cage could even lace his boots. Mox hurt Cope. He was sucking wind. He couldn't turn his neck, but he still kept coming forward again and again. Whatever Cope's made of is rare, and you can admire that. But you can take the rules and the countouts.
Why don't you just marry each other?
Take the rules, countouts, disqualifications, whatever you want. Cope can take the rules. Moxley will take his excuses. Moxley underestimated Cope's grit, no matter what. But there's a reason why Mox is the world champion.
Because he can tell Tony Khan what to do.
There's a difference between amateurs and professionals. The difference is Mox never makes the same mistake twice.
He's proceeding with the Death Riders, so write that down. Blackpool Combat Club to the Death Riders.
Write that down. Actually, John.
So
stop it there.
So the Death Riders, the Blackpool Combat Club didn't realise its potential, and they were just this floating squad of tweeners who didn't really, make best use of the talent involved. So you did make a mistake by making that the main event faction and renaming it. So write that down. Jot that down. I did not like this at all because I absolutely could not take it seriously. You had a sludgy bore of a main event match at Revolution that just was hold after hold after hold after, forearm exchange. It was just this plodding, dull, not engaging in the least match where Copeland just did something slowly. He survived slowly. The fact that, the fact that Mox is basically framing him in this promo as like the Terminator. He will not stop, kid, until, whatever. Jesus Christ. You're selling me, you're trying to sell me bullshit. And I'm not buying it, Mox. I'm not buying it, kid.
It's like, again, it is as if Moxley thinks this is like the best work of his career. He must know better than that.
He must know.
Yeah.
But like the content, you would think it would be because he's like,
He's trying to sell a match.
yeah, this guy's almost as hard as me, and you love how hard I am, right, guys?
He's trying to sell an unsellable match is what he's trying to do here. It's problems of his own making, but
Yeah.
it's a problem that you can't really solve.
I want the real life stories one day. I'm fascinated by this entire run. I want to know.
Did you also have the same thing as me, which is one of my pet peeves? When he said,
Edge. It's one of mine as well.
What do they used to call you, Cope? The world's biggest opportunist? It was the ultimate opportunist. So we're going to say that. Let's say
It's
it right.
trademarked.
Yeah, obviously. But I was just like, man.
It was his way of it's trademarked, dude. Come on, let's give him.
Get it right.
Can't get it right. It's trademarked.
What do they call you? The rated letter before S superstar?
What do they call you?
That's trademarked by Cope, so he's allowed to say that.
Yeah.
What do they call you? Rey Mysterio? It's Sin Cara.
Come on.
I hadn't thought about that.
It's trademarked.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
Yeah,
Because I was watching it going, that's wrong. Stop getting fed wrong.
It was. I think Mox cares about the Fed, actually.
It's because it's too cool for it.
I'm going to stand up for Mox here.
Doesn't even own a TV.
I know
probably.
what. Here. I was going to bring this point up. That was Danielson. I read a tweet the other day. And it did sort of go, God, am I just being an arsehole here? Where it was like, you've all been so quick to turn on Mox. look at what he's done. He was the heart and soul of this, and you've just turned on him. And it's like, should I be more like, I wish it was better. It's not very good. I wish it was better. Or is he just like this sort of like dead-eyed politician, you know?
Cuts both ways. Because
I know.
we're fans, you can turn back as well.
I know.
Like if they're also like Big Bronson Reed last year. You know what I mean? Like you can just think, I couldn't have cared less about you for like 4 or 5 years.
He didn't like Ricochet when he showed up in AEW.
Yeah.
And not like in a heel way. In a, oh no.
You can love good work and then hate bad
opening
work.
up. I know, but am I an arsehole?
No, it's the kids who are wrong.
It's kids who are wrong. Kids.
There's a Mox defense force out there that are still flying the flag. Like I saw all the criticism from the match, and then a bunch of them kind of like rounded on various people. Like they've got like Mox in their Twitter handles that are just like ride or die.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
There's-
Like
I suppose
people are just fans of people. And,
There's
like,
different kinds of apathy and stuff. Like there are certain people who, if they're not doing actively atrocious work that throttles the potential of what things could be, I would just go, yeah, I'm a bit bored of this wrestler for whatever reason. Like this is like such a big company defining bad run. If you cared so much about AEW,
That's it, innit?
you would just drop the belt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or at least volunteer for it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's next week. Maybe the Copa gets it
No.
done. Well, Cope and swerve, just like we always wanted.
Back to Dynamite, and it was the Odd Couples match. It was Powerhouse Hobbs and Hologram versus Brian Cage and Dralistico. There was someone actually, Sidge, out there with Brian Cage and Dralistico, but I couldn't quite see who it was. Did you pick up on who accompanied them to the ring?
It was Holly Cameron.
No. Brian Cage and Dralistico, who was out there with them. I was like looking, I can't figure out who that is, who was there on the heel side.
Yeah.
No.
No, I don't notice. I was on my phone probably. I mean, it's Dralistico on Dynamite. He's not very good. He's not very good at all.
He looked a bit like a monster who maybe has a match.
Oh, right.
So,
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, I was wondering what you were doing.
Sorry,
there.
because we don't do bits, but if we did, we have quite a few. I realised that.
I did pay attention to this match, but I might have thought, this. I was on my phone for 2 minutes, okay? The Beast. Mortos.
I would have just loved it if I just kept going, Robert Stone, what the fuck was he doing there?
I'm not being funny, right? I'm not being funny. Right, we'll go through the match. Every time Dralistico encountered Powerhouse Hobbs, he looked like he disassociated. He looked like he just, you know.
Oh my God, we don't have any songs. Like,
It's like HDMI disconnected. What do I do?
It was because he's got this weird affliction where he's pretty rubbish Dralistico, but he's got wonderful chemistry with their hologram.
Yeah.
Hence why this match happened. You know? But we'll get to it. That's basically my review.
Cage and Hobbs fought at ringside. Dralistico and Hologram fought in the ring. Dralistico was going for the mask of Hologram. Brings in Cage. Cage gets Hologram up for a gorilla press. Hologram fights out of it, though, sends Cage to the floor. I did like this spot. Hologram looks to fly onto him, but Cage seamlessly caught him with a suplex on the outside to take us to a break. Well, actually, no, sorry, to take us to a break. Even better. He just does curls with Hologram. Great. We should have come back and he should have still been doing it, in my opinion. But no, when we come back, the Beast is putting the boots to Hologram on the outside before Harleygram shows up to make the save and wiggle a bum a bit.
Right, okay, so the idea was she wanted to distract the Beast Mortos.
Are those crazy kids going to get it together?
The Beast
Mortos
Mortos.
puppet.
Maybe. We were talking about this in the office, and I said, like, right, tonally, when you just had this, like, incredibly well-received, violent pay-per-view where, you know, you could say careers were altered. Look at, like, the way Ospreay is hobbling around. Like, really serious business has just transpired. You do a spot like Harley Graham, someone who's like Beast Mortos out there wanting to risk it all. People have said that, you know, that's the kind of thing that it wanted. That's the kind of engagement. The idea of a bull just smashing her. Just for the Beast Mortos in his head was like, oh, God, I'd hang out. You know.
There's Beast Mortos in the replies. Like, oh, I wish I was the puppet.
Yeah.
Putting Beast words.
Oh, God, she's got a hand right up there. I wish I was the puppet. Right, so the Beast Mortos is, you know, wanting to risk it all. You do this on, at best, Collision, your B show.
Yeah.
Maybe on a night where, all right, okay, it's WrestleMania Saturday. we'll have to do Collision. We might as well dog it, phone it in.
Can't imagine what that'll be like.
Go out there and have some fun. It's not the most important night in AEW history. Go and do some stuff that you might get viral or just have some fun. This is too much fun. And I know that every wrestling show needs range. The night after a pay-per-view, I was always annoyed. Well, I'm quite often annoyed with Chris Jericho, but the night after the Dynamite after All Out, where it's like, all right, your beloved babyface world champion's just been suffocated by a plastic bag in an angle that could be, imitated by kids. This is awful. And then Chris Jericho, great idea, car stuff. It's like, off. Oh, go on, off. He actually wasn't bad on this show.
No,
Jericho. Yeah, we'll go to it.
We'll get to it, yeah. Hobbs and Dralistico. I'll refer to my colleague Michael Sidgwick's comments for that one. But Hobbs hit a ducked a lariat, hit a standing splash and a snap power slam. Hologram flew in with a pop-up drop kick on Brian Cage. He tries it on Cage, tries a snap Rana on Cage after hitting one on Dralistico and gets powerbombed into Hobbs in the corner. I love that Cage outside in suplex. He does it on Hobbs here, which...
Oh, my God.
Dralistico comes in with a drop kick, and
it was real bad. It was so bad.
It was like, oh my God, how could he be? I can do better than this. Great match on Collision, bro.
yeah, Hobbs just picks him up afterwards.
What are you doing? Power slam. What's that? Deadlift him.
It'd be funny if, God rest his soul, if Antonio Inoki was alive, well, and in that building, he would have walked out.
Hobbs did just go over and lift him off the ground while I'm doing this then.
That's wrong,
We're not wrestling
You
anymore.
see his face after the finish.
Yeah.
Hobbs hit a spine muster on the edge of the ring. Hologram, nice spot as well. Hologram walked the ropes and launched off of Hobbs' chest for a dive onto Cage. Dralistico tried his springboard and I was like, nope. Spine buster, 1, 2, 3, post-match. Lance Archer and Mark Davis came out and were like, what the hell's that?
I'll say this. I will say there was one, that crucifix bomb spot. I didn't expect that move to happen from that run-up. So that was really well done between Hologram and Dralistico. But my God, Dralistico gets any worse at this, he's going to be wrestling Gunther at WrestleMania. An absolute grade A Takerino of a performance from Dralistico every single time. So he's like, I know why they did this match, because the match on Collision, which not many people watch because it was like, oh, well, it's Revolution tomorrow. We don't have to do this. But this,
We don't have to do this.
we don't have to do this. Certainly, I did check out that match. It was really, really, really well done for what it was. So hence why they've, all right, okay, we can just advance Hobbs versus Callis family and have them two do their match. Like the touring match, basically, in one promotion. Like they've done with Hologram and the Beast Mortos, Disaster, like Dralistico versus Powerhouse Hobbs.
Run it back for me. Singles next week.
Doing it next week in a street fight.
Every time. So he misses the move, so he just, it's a canvas, and then just rolls on to Hobbs, and Excalibur has to go, well, the move that happened before must have had a big effect. And then he just goes up in the corner. He's like, and I'm watching him going, Dralistico, mate, it's not musical chairs. Why have you stopped? Why have you stopped?
It looked like he was doing the Mo head movement there.
That's what he was. It's just like, why is it? It's like
Not musical chairs.
it's not musical chairs, mate. It looked like it was in the characters, like the everyone was moving graphics. Well, good news, because Dralistico just debuted his in the middle of a match for some reason.
Like Taz was like, Powers Hobbs looks pretty mad. I was like, yep, he does.
Dralistico was in a squash on Collision with and he's just like, hey, up everything, and he's in there for like cumulative 10 seconds.
I remember that review.
How did he have that match? It was described as a miracle match.
Sidge was like, I need 5 minutes on Dralistico here.
It's unacceptable.
I enjoyed that a lot more than I remember
not
it
being
now.
funny. You can't be that bad. You can't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't book him for a long time if it was up to me.
Yeah.
Right, we got back.
Got any thoughts on the match?
Sorry,
I've done
yeah.
most of the talking.
Not really.
It'll be a fun match against the Hurt Syndicate, Powerhouse Hobson, Hologram.
I'd be like, don't look right.
Yeah.
I don't get, but like, it was fun to see something that bad. You don't really get it.
No.
I love rubbish wrestling sometimes.
Your point about this being Collision, this is the match, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I'm very positive about a lot of the AEW wrestlers at the moment, but this is a reminder of there's so bloody many of them that you can't attend to your undercard because there's just a bunch of guys doing stuff.
Yeah.
Once, I don't know what the example is. Sid would be able to pull a match out of his ass from like a 2019 Dynamite, but let's say SCU versus whoever. Like, there's not a lot of much happening. They haven't won the tag belts yet, but it's like, yeah, they're kind of bottom run guys, but like, what are they going to do long term? Well, everybody feels like they've got characters. Maybe it's SCU versus two of the Dark Order lads or something. Everybody's got a little something going on, so you can tether that to that. There's too many guys for that now. So this could have been more just a match featuring some of the just a match crew. And it's like Dynamite's the worst place for that because elsewhere you want to like fantasy book X against Y.
Honestly, I wish Collision was bad as this, and I'd have something to say. Other than, good match, well worked.
You cannot really do this on Dynamite, I don't think. You've got to put bigger or more involved
Not
stars
when there's
on.
like momentum and hype and the pay-per-view was great, etc. Unacceptable. Funny though.
Yeah. We see an interview
You gotta laugh.
backstage at
You've got to laugh.
AEW Revolution. It wasn't Lexi now. Who was it? Oh, it was Alicia. Oh God, what's her surname? Alicia,
You know what it is, and you're doing your sneezing joke, so I'm not going to tell you.
A two. Thank you. Interviews the Hurt Syndicate.
I'm too clever for that now.
Whose ass are we going to beat next? MVP says that's what he loves about Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. No one works hard in the Hurt Syndicate, but work hard, play hard. Have a week off, go and celebrate, lads.
Different weeks, different needs.
Shelton says they are going to take some time off, but they are going to still be going to the gym. And MVP loves that. That's what makes them the best. They want to hurt people.
Yep. I think this matters later on.
Yeah.
We get a brilliant video package following that, all about the story, I suppose, of Timeless Tony Storm and Mariah May.
Yeah, this was really well done.
The Hollywood ending. Yeah. A cinematic masterpiece, says Nigel McGuinness, of course. And then we get Timeless Tony Storm, who comes out and says, with stitches in my lip, staples in my head, and glass in my ass, I stand before you saying this tramp is still the champ. She said Revolution was her Hollywood ending. A chunk of her heart is gone forever, but looking at the AEW Women's title, it was worth it. It's time for a new beginning. It's her honor to be the Women's World Champion. This is the most talented locker room in all of professional wrestling. There's so many champions. One of them's got their belt in a bloody briefcase. Some of them are belt collectors. But when you fight with Toni Storm, it's like visiting the zoo. She bleeds like a pig, licks like a giraffe, and she'll eat you like a lion. But you'll never hear her meow because she's no pussy.
You won't hear it either.
Nobody swings like her. So, ladies, put your keys in a bowl. Let's get this orgy started. It'll be messy, sweaty, and it'll always be timeless. And she poses, and she's jumped from behind by Megan Bane, who stands over her.
I love the promo. Love the fact that the promo happened, echoing Hamflett's take of, like, you need to come out and sell what has happened on the goddamn pay-per-view as something monumental and worth a celebration and worth a bit of a brag, quite frankly. And I really quite like this direction. Megan Bane's still pretty green. I mean, we saw that angle, but she's definitely got something. Certainly there's a new class of, like, really powerhouse women. It's not the best class in the world. I mean, Camille, Jade Cargill, like, at times, yeah, but really, it's, I think Bane is the best of that class. And I think she's got the most potential of that class. And maybe it was a Chris Statlander effect, because Statlander is just simply great. But that was a really fun match. A big test of Toni Storm. Not necessarily thinking they're going to go, if it's going to Dynasty, and it might with so few weeks away. A good test of Toni Storm. And it's got that, when we take the piss, and we like both performers a great deal, but, Nyla Rose is getting the women's title shot.
Yeah.
Or, Lance Archer's getting the title shot. It feels like Megan Bane's first go-round of that. I expect, if she follows a similar trajectory, you're going to get pretty bored of the televised win over Megan Bane in about a year or two, okay? But because this is the first time and they've presented her as a big deal, there's a buy-in for me of, all right, okay, well, they might do a shock. They might just spring a shock here. She's undefeated. They've had a go over Statlander, you know, like, who the hell knows? The buy-in for this match exists for me personally. It didn't get a reaction, though, in the building. This is a pretty flat,
I hadn't really thought about it from the point of view of the Nyla Rose Lance Archer comparison, but it's apt. But what I liked about this outside of the narrative was, and I think this is because of Swerve last year and Kyle Fletcher last year and this, is you just don't know now who might run with the ball. Ricochet as well.
People have been given the chance to run with the ball.
And you're getting to see the difference between those that can and those that can't. And now we'll see if Megan Bane can. Yes, this probably will be that, not token, but she's going to lose to Toni Storm. And can she have a good match with the ace? Because a lot of people can, because that's why Toni Storm's the ace. And then from there, where she loses, what then? And what has she done in that time? Because we've seen plenty of wrestlers of late in a promotion that increasingly is starting to function as a promotion again, that if they've shown that they can take advantage of one opportunity, they'll be given a second and a third and a fourth. And that's where my buy-in comes. Not strictly in this match, but in seeing if Megan Bane is like playing for keeps a little bit. And based on what we saw later on, I was given more reason to see that, well, creatively, for a month at least, they're going to go with it. And I like that. I love seeing the machine get behind anybody and then seeing how they react to it and if they want to stick around for it.
Then we got our big surprise of the night. It was the International Title Eliminator Tournament first round match. It was that monster that was on the outside earlier on.
Yeah. The Beast, Mortos.
Versus a wild card that was revealed to be Speedball Mike Bailey. Yeah! As correctly called by Michael Sidgwick.
Yeah! I like him.
Good call, Mike Sidgwick. Like Speedball.
Yeah. I like him. Very dorky.
Yeah.
But I like him.
Yeah.
For now.
Really fast series of counters to start off. There's a stiff kick from Bailey to Mortos, and then he does the rapid fire kicks to send the Beast to the outside. Misses a moonsault off the apron, but lands on his feet, and Mortos mows him down. But Bailey comes back with a somersault dive to take us to a break. During the break, Mortos sort of takes over, hitting that twisting tornado of his. But Bailey fights back when we return, hitting a running shooting star for 2. There's a springboard moonsault to the floor by Bailey. Back inside, he hits a Liger bomb for a near fall. Goes up top, misses a shooting star, rolled through, but gets hit with a pop-up Samoan drop by the Beast for 2. The Beast goes up top, it takes too long, and Bailey sweeps out of his legs. But as they fight on the top, Mortos hits an avalanche press slam for a nice near fall. Bailey avoids a discus strike. They trade shots. Mortos hit a torture rack backbreaker and a discus lariat that takes Bailey's head off. But as he goes for the home run powerbomb, Bailey rolls through into a Hurricane Runner, PK, moonsault knee drop, and the high-speed roundhouse kick gets him the 1-2-3.
I thought this match was very good. Bailey didn't put a foot wrong, and some of his stuff looks so impressive. He's so sleek. And I love the ambition on some of those strikes. They're not ambitious for him. Any other wrestler couldn't do that because of his background. Like, it's so cool, which is ironic because Mike Bailey just isn't. And I'm allowed to say that because, goddammit, I would know. It's weird because some of his stuff looks so cool, like when he does like the roundhouse kicks, and it's like it's on the button, and his leg goes so high up. It looks like a true spectacular, and it is a use of martial arts. It's so cool to see. One of the reasons why I cannot really vibe with Mike Bailey is someone who was like, I'd really want to root behind this wrestler and get behind them and see them as the champion because there is a dorky element to it, right? I've ever told you my karate story. Well, that's a karate story, but it's a chapter of my life when I was very, very young.
No.
It's time for story time with Michael Sidgwick, baby.
Time for story time with Michael Sidgwick, baby. Again, before I just, trivialize this guy's long-awaited debut, and he's had trouble doing stuff at a high level in the States for years and years and years. So I do want to just say, well done, should have happened years ago, but you've made it and you deserve it because the effort and the quality of your matches has been pretty tremendous over the long term.
One of the hardest working guys in the game
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
years.
WCPW, of course.
That match with Ospreay.
Yep.
Great.
Killer.
Before you get into this, just Brian, quick note for you, mate. Karate Sidge, thanks very much. Continue.
Right, okay. So I have an obsession with karate years ago. To this day,
I'd have loved that sentence. It just ended with karate.
Yeah.
It's like we're learning now. My actual thing.
to this day, I have as much nostalgia for certain martial arts flicks as I do for like King of the Ring '93.
Love Cobra Kai, don't you? Well, you did early
Yeah,
stages
yeah,
of it,
yeah. So my mum used to run a pub. There is a really canny barmaid who works there. A colourful character, shall we say, right? Think of Tony Storm, the Gateshead Tony Storm.
Yep, got it.
And she just has like a drinks around her place, and like the kids get dragged along, and I'm there, and she's like, "Oh, I'll put on a Bloodsport."
Time Mouth Tony Storm.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm quite young at this point. I don't think I should be watching an 18, but whatever. So they put it on, and I'm thinking, oh, Colin bloody loves the discipline of martial arts. I think she just wanted to see Jean-Claude Van Damme's ass.
Right.
Because he gets it out, doesn't he, in Bloodsport and
That's
the
it.
thong. Is he in Bloodsport?
This is the deal where they parody it in Hot Shots where he puts the tape in like sweets and stuff. Is that the type
That's
of-
Kickboxer.
Okay, yeah, I'm not seeing any of them. Don't like it.
Anyway.
Stick it on the list.
Stick it on your list, yeah. 80s martial arts flicks. Anyway, I don't think he likes some of these too young. So they do Bloodsport and Kickboxer back to back. And I'm like, this is like wrestling, but better. I do. I have this feeling that goes through my head. And I'm like, I want to do karate. I want to be like him. Like Jean-Claude Van Damme was my Marty Jannetty, my Bret Hart. The holy trinity of just dudes that I thought were cool and hard. Van Damme,
Yeah.
not Rob, Jean-Claude, Marty Jannetty and Bret Hart, just my guys. So I go to, I get obsessed with all of this. Best of the best, Eric Roberts. All this kind of stuff.
No, I've seen.
Anyway, I love all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm getting 18s. I shouldn't be getting it. I'm like 10 or something.
Good stuff. That and feels amazing. You feel alive when you see that red circle and you know you're about to watch it.
Yeah. That's not my age.
You're kind of like a friggin'
Yeah,
star
yeah,
stand-up
yeah.
show. You know, 18.
Yeah, rated R, but I'm 12.
Someone,
like this
someone
stuff.
from 88 was a 15. You remember?
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
It didn't look right, did it?
Yeah, yeah.
What's that doing on a wrestling?
What?
What's going on in there? Yeah.
So what I do
took a
is,
skirt off and you don't see nothing.
so what I do is, I'm like, I want to be him. And they go, all right, that's great, because I wanted to push my kids towards self-defense, just to give them the assuredness of life. Just walk around and not take any crap from anyone and not be a little wimp like me. So I'm on the track to not be a wimp. I'm on the track to be Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'm on the track to be the muscles from Brussels. Yeah. And I decide I want to get the outfit more than the actual discipline and the weekly routine and being tough. I get my karate outfit. It's like, can I get a black belt? There has to be a white belt first. You haven't done anything, young man. So I go to Gateshead Leisure Centre, right? I start doing Taekwondo. Taekwondo, freaking karate, that's me. And the sensei is really scary. He's like really, really scary. Like, just doesn't have like a welcoming presence at all. Just he wants to train killers. And I'm 10 and I've just seen a movie, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's called Dan. I went, "Are you right, Dan?" He went, "Sensei!" I quit. And I cried on the way home because he told me off and all the rest of it. And
Dan,
Sensei! So, oh God, I've really upset the scary man. Anyway, so weeks go by, and it's like what it is it's the very first thing you do. It's just form, right? So he teaches you how to throw a punch, like your knees forward and throw a punch like that. Your thumb
Still got
there. It's never left. But then you have to do it in like a T shape. So it's like a pattern. For whatever reason, I just remember vividly in my head that I could never know when to turn left or right. And I just used to think, I'll just like get a punching bag and braid it. Do you know what I mean? So there's this exam to get you get your, I think it was an orange belt. If you do your punches in order, in the correct, like, whatever, you get your orange belt. I got it, and I'm like, yeah! One step closer to being Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
And then I go the next week, and it's like, right, okay, orange belt. It's like, yeah, I'm in the class. It's like, you spar with... Spar? So, yeah, you're going to punch each other. I'm out. I went home crying, and I'm out. In my head, Speed Boy Mike Bailey is me in front of the telly in Colleen's flat watching Jean-Claude Van Damme movies and just going, yeah, in front of the TV. You know what I mean? He's not a cool, he's like a little kid who likes karate.
Yeah. But he's awesome.
He's awesome in the ring, but he doesn't have that. He's a bigger badass, probably than Jon Moxley in terms of his actual credentials and all. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm getting like anxiety from being a kid, and my mum and dad wanted me to like join clubs. And
Yeah.
I didn't. Did Cubs for a bit. Was forced into Cubs. Didn't ever want to do any of it. Never even liked the idea of camping. Had to do it for real. Hated it even more. But like you mentioning karate and like wanting to actually find the thing you liked, I just remember like my mum and dad being like, so and so's going to karate. So and so's going to football. So and so's going to Cubs. You put a telly in the living room. I want to stare at it.
So
Give me some crisps. Give me
so
the
Mike Bailey, rather than being Jean-Claude Van Damme, is either, and I think he's so talented in the ring, and there is scope for a heel turn here. I've watched Mike Bailey matches. It was absolutely blew away fantastic. Some of his stuff just looks incredible. That moonsault knee strike onto the intestines of Kenny Omega is going to go so hard. Like, this is all good stuff. It's just, rather than being Van Damme, Mike Bailey is either me in front of the telly who just grew up as just like, I just likes karate stuff. Like, on Partridge, I just loves karate stuff, him. It's like, that's just his thing that he likes. Like, the guy from The Office, why's he got a mullet? It's because they're in now. No, he's had it for about 15, yeah. He just likes karate stuff and like 80s karate stuff, and that's fine. Or like one of the older kids who I imagined bullied one of the three ninjas in the movies. I haven't seen them in about 25 years. That, yeah, you little three ninja pukes. I'm going to kick your ass, especially the little fat one. Actually, I'm really hard. I'm one of the three ninjas, and he beats up the older bully. That's what Mike Bailey is to me. He's not Van Damme.
No. Yeah, he couldn't have gone better for him.
It was awesome, this. I really enjoyed it.
Couldn't have gone better for him. Like, I've seen this match in person and on like YouTube and on television. I've seen it. I love Mike Bailey. It's going to be interesting to watch him as a television character because
he's going to have to be the Cobra Kai villain at some point.
This couldn't have gone any better as an illustration of who Mike Bailey is to anybody that hasn't seen him.
His kicks are so incredible,
so cool. Like, but it's not to his detriment, and it's absolutely not a negative. But he's had this in the locker for years and years and years, and that's why he's always sold tickets to the indie shows. That's why he's always been in demand. That's why people have rooted for this. You know,
he's still spring chicken, but my God, the spring on him.
Yeah,
he's still in amazing shape.
It's not as futuristic as this guy, so this is not a like-for-like comparison, but we had been watching, myself and Sidge and others had been watching Rob Van Dam do it for years before he arrived in WWE, and the excitement of Rob Van Dam in WWE was not, Jesus Christ, look at that, it was, he's doing it in WWE, he's just on a Van Daminator on Raw, right?
Yeah.
If you knew, you knew. But how many people had never seen Rob Van Dam and had their minds blown? Mike Bailey might have just had that effect on a bunch of people last night, and great, more power to him.
It's not the same. Stylistically,
but like in terms of what he's been doing, like I got exactly what I expected, and I felt like genuinely pleased for Mike Bailey here. But there is like kind of this was like one of them when you see a TV show pilot that then differs massively from what the show ends up becoming. Like when there's like a voiceover in the first episode, the pilot episode of The Sopranos, where like, and it's, what's going on here? And then that's gone and you kind of never see it again.
Yeah.
There will be a Mike Bailey run, and I don't think it's necessarily this.
He's going to be an awesome heel at some point.
I hope so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Renee Paquette's backstage with the Patriarchy, asks about Christian Cage's failed cash-in at Revolution. Cage refuses to speak to anyone related to Jon Moxley. Get out of his sight, basically, he says. Cage insists he's still the next undisputed AEW World Champion. He wants his contract to be returned to him because he signed a contract for a singles world title match against Cope, not a three-way. He also said he didn't tap out. He was simply regulating his breathing. But
that was good.
Yeah. Nick Wayne cuts him off and says, you're lying to everyone. If you stuck to the plan, maybe you'd be world champion. We all deserve an apology. Cage says, sorry it's come to this. Pushes Nick Wayne against the wall. But in steps Nick Wayne's mom, who's got it going on. But Cage says if she does something, she'll be back to working the midnight shift at Waffle House. Who are you to question my tactics? He says to Nick Wayne. How many world titles have you ever won? How many world titles did your biological father win? You should be thanking me that I found you and didn't end up like a coward like your father who died in front of your mother's face. Cage says he'll be AEW World Champion if it's the last thing he ever does, and tells Nick to keep his mouth shut and ride his coattails, or it'll be the last thing that he ever does. And he walks off, and Kip Sabian is a bit conflicted but follows.
Really liked this. Really liked it. I liked it. Sounded like a bit of a threat because Christian Cage being in that world title scene. I don't need that. I don't know. It just feels like we're done with that. It's the Strickland, Ospreay, Hangman, MJF scene. That's what that is now. Okay, don't need Cope, Christian, Mox. So him saying it was a threat, but at the same time, him saying it was good because everyone should want it, and it felt like the world title felt like a really prominent thing that was right. Okay, the end of the Death Riders in sight, and everyone kind of wants a bit now, which is good because everyone wants someone else to want a bit of it, you know. And it just, the prestige of the title should matter, and I think that was reflected and echoed by several characters across this show. Christian Cage was great in this segment, absolutely great, and it felt like he's wanted to do something like this for ages, but has been in a holding pattern narratively for far too long. I just felt like he wanted this, felt like he wanted to prove that, I don't know, I'm still Christian Cage. Like, don't forget about me, I'm brilliant. Just it was such a bell end here. I just felt like Christian Cage was kind of back for a night.
Yeah, it was a little bit unexpected that it felt like the patriarchy were falling apart, but like how often has an act in AEW gone years past its sell-by date, and there was almost like something thrilling about, they've acknowledged it's rubbish now, and they're going to kill it. Yeah. Great, that's what you should do in wrestling, like move on. I didn't even spot the really brutal line at the end, because I swear this is true, I'd gotten lost in thought, and I know, and I love it when our American listeners and viewers share the reality of the greatest country in the goddamn world compared to our just fantasies about it. But I genuinely got lost in like a mind palace scenario of like midnight at a Waffle House, because there aren't many scenes in my mind more perfect. Like, I'm sure it can't be as good as it is in my mind, but just a quiet Waffle House. A couple of customers keep themselves to themselves. I'm just at the table. I'm by myself.
Before you enter the actual Waffle House in your head, are you seeing it? The illuminated sign on a
neon,
desolate nightscape.
Big, tall, lamppost-sized sign with the Waffle House branding.
I have got the X account to follow for you. It's called Mytho America.
I love the sound of that already.
I think you like more like chintzy America.
I do, yeah.
This is. I'll show you it later.
That's probably like when you have a passion for like a karate genre or something. There was no one single genre of films I would have enjoyed, but anytime I got to have a look at that chintzy Americana through films and television, that's why I'd never get tired of going to New York. I'm always walking back into the telly.
Yeah,
like
there's a variety of different things there, like that. Those shots that you're talking about there of but then there's also
some beautiful photography on this
PB&J sandwiches. There you go.
Stuff, stripping walls. Yeah, like
you'd like that to follow. Give it a follow.
Just it's nighttime. You're right as well. It's nighttime. It's midnight. Obviously, it's dark outside, but the Waffle House has lit up the place, and there's just somebody coming around, tap you off, giving you more coffee, and it's actually I will have a second plate of waffles. Like, I've never even been there yet.
Yeah.
It's on my list this year. I was thinking about that, and I was thinking how nice it'd be to be in a midnight. So I missed a big killer line by Christian Cage. So thanks for that.
Did a midnight at a.
Keep your phone in your pocket much?
No,
Did a midnight at a Denny's after Wale Mania, and it wasn't quite as romanticized as you're laying out there. It was scary, to be perfectly honest.
I don't believe Americans.
Just because Jey Uso likes it.
No. I love any of these. Like IHOP, Taco Bell. Like, pretty sure Taco Bell is seen as like, if you're in America, you're slumming it or something. And I absolutely love it. They make Mountain Dew cake.
So I'm just looking at like American pictures.
Looking at a Kmart there.
Oh my God.
Is that a Radio Shack? That's a Radio Shack, isn't it? That
Radio Shack. Yeah, the big mountains in the background. I'm going to take some pictures, Sidge, on the Seattle to Vancouver leg of Phil and Fed's Excellent Adventure. We're on the train crossing the border into Canada after WrestleMania, because I was like watching a YouTube video where somebody takes the journey, and like those, like the smoke going across their mountains.
No, I don't need to see it. I don't need to know that you've seen it.
Okay.
I don't. It's missed.
Are you going on a bit of a world tour then, I suppose?
You could say that.
Yeah.
Why do you ask that?
I just like the sound of it. Whether it be here in the UK, hitting, I don't know, off the top of my head.
Pitch 2 seconds. I got some messages.
You like the sound of it?
Yeah, Manchester, Belfast, like, I don't know, somewhere in Scotland, like Glasgow or something.
Keep talking, mate, because if I got some fantastic news for you.
What's that?
Do you want to go on one?
Go on, then.
Like, as part of, like, the What Culture team? To
Yeah.
all of those places you just named?
Yeah.
Should we invite some people along?
Go on, then.
Like you guys, by going to whatculture.com/tickets, where you can get tickets to our show in Manchester, Belfast, and Glasgow. If WWE is in town, we are too. And in the case of Manchester, we're just there, even though they're not. Which is ideal, if anything, because it's going to be a Friday night.
Friday.
Oh my God, that's really, really close. Yeah, get your tickets now if you want them at whatculture.com/tickets. Again, those towns are Manchester, Belfast, and Glasgow. Belfast is going to be the WWE house show on Saturday the 22nd. The Glasgow Raw on Monday the 24th. I should point out that there will be plenty of time for you to get to the WWE events. We're going to be the perfect pre-show entertainment for those WWE events. And the whole thing is ending with the biggest and best SmackDown watch-along in all of Las Vegas as part of the massive What Culture live show in Las Vegas at the HyperX Arena. There's going to be live stage show stuff beforehand, a full SmackDown watch-along, then Simon Miller recording ups and downs live for YouTube that you can be a part of. Then we're going to do a WrestleMania preview podcast. And then what happens at What Culture Live stays at What Culture Live, by which we mean getting pissed in the bar. Yeah? No meet and greet tickets, because every ticket is a meet and greet ticket.
Yeah.
We cannot wait to see everybody on the tour. We're super hot.
And if you like the sound of that, but you're like, oh, I love the sound of that Hamflett, but I'm in Nottingham, Birmingham, and London.
That is me as well, yeah. What can I do?
Well, not only the dates that we're doing as part of our world tour, but those places as well is going to be hit with Switchin' Disco. Myself, Mark Henry, and for selected dates, Joe Hendry's going to be there doing the best wrestling club night that there is. If you want to get tickets to that, it's awesome. You saw the stuff that we did at All In last year. Just head to dice.fm and search for Sweet Chin Disco on that to get your tickets for that. But yeah, whatculture.com/tickets for the What Culture Wrestling World Tour. Right, back to Dynamite. And Lexi Nair is trying to catch a word with MJF ahead of following his match to Hangman Page at Revolution. But she walks in to see him telling himself in the mirror that he's a fraud and smashing it. Awkward.
Terrific.
Awkward. Terrific.
Yes.
Terrific. There is always the sense, and he's never ever neglected it, that there is like a really broken human being under that heel exterior. We talked about it at length, praising the fact that this ultimate heel, who, you know, for a long time, was just in character 24/7, and no one ever did that. This unbelievable talker, this prodigy, they're so great at being a heel and protecting the heel character. It just felt like he's going to be the heel Ricky Steamboat, never turn face. And then the first time, it's like, could he actually turn face? Is that like a sympathetic kid under all of that?
Relatable quality to him.
Yeah. And he's never let that go, to his credit. This made me realize he still hasn't let that go. He might have a run-up at a babyface run again at some point. I mean, it's wrestling. He will. And it's like how there's always these little moments of it. Just feels like a fully fleshed out actual human being, not just this one-note heel character. And I admire it really because, one, he's just little shoots of the babyface turn at some point. And I like how the temptation isn't to just go, right, okay, people didn't like this babyface run, didn't work out, let's just revert to type and beat MJF and phone it in. I like how he's still attentive to this fleshed out character that he plays. I felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
You're a fraud. And what I loved about it as well is how it links to what Hangman Page said. You're not real. Like, you're not real.
He also broke a mirror, didn't he? Hangman Page.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good link as well. But I just love how the link from Hangman Page to I'm real, you're not. And then MJF deep down knowing it. Like I felt something watching this.
Yeah. I was going to mention the mirror because they had the mirror there like straight away, and then later on when Hangman Page is flagging up. I know what it actually is to actually light that gas. I don't think you had it in you. Yeah. And again, the sort of are we the same or are we different? And the fact that they're now being established as legacy opponents from that first night with Bret Hart to now to whatever they're going to do together in the future, they're feeling bonded in a similar way that Hangman used to Kenny, which and like MJF did with like the established with Punk, and that's so crucial to, and how Hangman's become that with Swerve as well. So crucial to your long-term storytelling because you've got to have these like deeper roots than some of the monthly cycle stories that you're telling. Like it's absolutely not a criticism. Couldn't be further from it. This is one of them situations, we use this phrase sometimes, like, could MJF in situations like this be too good for his own good? because you're so right, Sidge. I'm so glad that he tends to this character above what
I've
is
said
sometimes
that before
logic.
about him.
Like what is sometimes like there is all the evidence to suggest, well, now would be the worst time to be babyface again. People are not over the things they didn't like about him as a babyface. But then because he's doing this for the good of his character, the worry is there'll be this sort of rush to think, let's just get back there sooner, actually. Please be patient. Please hold on. Do these as often as you like. Do these little reveals of the real person and the complex figure that Maxwell Jacob Friedman is. But hold the wheel when it comes to him going out there at front with the suit and the scarf on and keep being the heel. Because the longer you wait now, the more everybody will want it rather than doing it and then people being like, this again. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's like have all the courage of your conviction if you're MJF to keep doing this, but don't ever do the babyface turn. Almost past the point where people are itching for it and you're still not giving them it.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you would want is to draw like baseless, and unfair criticism.
He's still coming back, you know.
I have a criticism. Don't break a mirror. That's 7 years bad luck. I bet he doesn't even believe Salute Magpies. What are you doing?
That's the point, bro.
Wilbourn did his, I always forget, Mr. My Lord.
Come on, my lord.
Mr. My Lord.
Whatever it is he does.
But MJF comes out on Dynamite. He says he's got a splitting headache. His hand hurts. His body hurts.
I need to interject, sorry.
I
promised the listeners a wild take.
Oh, yes.
And this is where the wild take fits in.
Wild take.
Wow.
I don't know the next lyric.
Corned beef bake.
Right, okay. There is every chance, in fact, a high probability, because we've been here before with MJF, that he just put too much spray tan on and thought, I've overdone it. The contrast between the grading on the interview from Revolution, where he's like, you're a fraud. He looked very, very pale then. And it was it like in black and white or as a different color effect?
Yeah. It was more washed out.
Yeah, washed out. And he looked like pale, like more human, like candid, you know, that was the effect. And in that, he was calling himself a fraud. And he was, for once, he was not in the process of denying things to himself. He was being really candid and honest with himself, which like this character never really does. And then the next time you see him on Dynamite, he has a very, very liberal application of spray tan. Like, even by his standards. Is that a deliberate choice of, I need to be MJF? I didn't break a mirror. I didn't doubt myself.
Don't back down, double down.
Double down.
Yeah.
I'm still MJF. The walls aren't closing in on me. That loss didn't matter. Yeah. Everyone loses. I'm still MJF, and he's really overcompensated. I don't know if I believe that, but it's something to think about.
He'd do it.
I credit him with that level of detail.
The TV matches he had in the Punk feud, where he wears the stunning Steve Austin WCW tights, the Candido ones, because Punk's got the no gimmicks need on his hands. He's just picking every single week at Punk's psyche. Like that level of detail at the time, I was in awe of that, because it wasn't even flagged up by him, let alone the commentators or anything. It was just, this might piss him off.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to mock all your heroes.
He's always good with gear.
He's so good with that.
Yeah.
Always good with gear. Red and yellow in Vegas.
Yeah. I was trying to work out what, I'm still trying to, thinking about what Sundays was. You know, with the white, with the red, sort of fleck, I don't know what, I don't know, but it will come to pass. The green, he's wearing the green jacket when he first gets the handshake rejection from Punk, and then he's wearing the green for the dog collar match, and the picture you see is in that same shade of green when he's fresh.
Yeah. So he comes out and says he's got a splitting headache, his hand hurts, his body hurts. What hurts the most is he knew he had the match won on Sunday, but that cowardly cowboy decided for a cheap shot just like he did in 2019. The fans can chant Page's name all they want, but he's not upset anymore. He's thought long and hard about it. He's 10 times smarter than Page, and the fans will ever be. He's also 10 steps ahead, a bit like The Rock, and he will get his. This thing between him and Page isn't over, not by a long shot. And then MVP's, or the Hurt Syndicate's music hits, and out comes MVP. Obviously, Bobby and Shelton have got the night off, or the week off. There's a little face-off between the two of them. MJF, MVP. Hug it out. Let's flashback to that from Matt Reigns the other day. MVP wants... it's time for story time with MVP, baby. His history with MJF. An 18-year-old MJF volunteered to drive into a documentary film simply for being able to sit in with the car and learn about the pro wrestling business. The questions MJF asked was what impressed MVP the most, and then they were working in an indie company in Florida, and MVP mentions the drive MJF had, which is something you can't really teach. MJF did everything said he was going to do back then, and that's what makes MVP proud of him, including, of course, becoming the World Heavyweight Champion. But MVP's not exactly proud of how MJF has handled the loss from Sunday. Some people might even say he's out here whining to the people. MVP says, why aren't you smashing things? Why aren't you hurting people? But he knows the answer to the question. MJF has lost his edge. The boys in the back don't respect or fear him anymore. But they do fear the Hurt Syndicate, which is what MJF is missing. MVP was able to help MJF a long time ago. Maybe he can help him again. And he goes to hand him his business card. He did that before when he passed out his business cards when he debuted. That was a way to introduce himself. But now it's a way to change your career, to make you a champion. Maybe it's time for them to talk business. MJF refuses it. Initially pushes the hand away, saying he's not the same kid he was all those years ago. He doesn't need MVP's help or advice. He's MJF, and if the moron fans want to hear it or not, he was the longest reigning AEW World Champion. And MVP says, yeah, he should focus on the word was. And he hands MJF the business card, which MJF does take and put in his jacket.
MVP was world class here. MVP is such a goddamn great promo. Like, the emphasis on was, it just feels like the line everyone would say in that segment. And yet it made it sound like it was a profound insight from him, like a really great bit of advice. The MVP is absolutely magnificent. MJF, obviously, just always great on the microphone. This was so weird in a way that I'm like, what? It was almost as if, like, have they played the wrong music? Like, I've genuinely, like, it's... I talked before about zones and how wrestlers just in AEW are assigned zones and that they only really interact with wrestlers who they are, in that zone with. Like, I use the example of a wrestler is feuding with someone, they will inevitably have a match with Wheeler Yuta, and then they'll see if they can beat Mox at the Pape, Very patterned in the zones. This felt like they're in different... If it's a continent, they're on opposite ends, MJF and MVP. What the hell's going on here? I'm instantly fascinated by this. Is he joining the Hurt Syndicate? Is he turning babyface and feuding with Bobby? Like, what is going on here? In a sense, there was no action to it, but in the truest definition of the word, this is almost like an angle of like, what? Like, just a total, like the sharp direction into something else, and you're like, what the hell? I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah, this was brilliant. This was sort of surprising, bit mystifying, encourages you to fantasy book, and anything is possible at the moment. That's always quite fun. The interaction between two of them, like, both of them were excellent in their delivery, and when they weren't delivering the promo, they're like, they say acting is reaction.
MJF and the Hurt Syndicate versus Hangman and Swerve.
Yeah, and there's,
you know what I mean, like
if this is actually a thing and not some sort of setup one way or the other, really, really like that. The Levekian link that I always enjoy about this car ride that I've never heard about, but now I buy and now I believe, and that could be a lie for all I know. But I completely bought this link. I know. That's why I said it, because you like to give Rob Fee all the credit. Rob Fee. So that's
his job.
But right, do you know what I realised watching this beyond just this promo? And it was like, MVP obviously has done this.
I don't give McMahon the credit for laying out the Royal Rumbles. That was Pat Parsons' job. That's Rob Fee's job, mate.
MVP has done this.
Just a million things.
This was Triple H Triple Great. MVP has done this while Shelton and Bobby are away. So there's this sense of like, are they cool with this? Which is interesting. Again, another layer to this.
In my head canon, because I'm in a good mood with them AEW right now, so you can sort of like be a little bit less picky. I don't think Bobby Lashley watches the show.
No,
I don't think he just turns up, kills people, and goes home. Yeah,
But like, why do I watch the show, Mantel?
Why do I watch the show?
But I think it's an interesting, like, of all the people, if you're going to recruit somebody, you can easily imagine them having like a little backstage powwow. And MJF, we're not having him, but that conversation hasn't been had. and the MVP is like the one in charge of this, and he sees something or he remembers something or whatever's happening here, which I think is interesting. But just a bigger picture for AEW for a second. This was the third or fourth on this show. We've highlighted a couple of them, right? Hurt Syndicate beat the Outrunners. Just beat them. And the result of that is go and party for the week. You have won. MJF has lost to Hangman Page and is kind of having to struggle that.
He's having a crisis, which
Kenny,
is always good to see.
Kenny Omega and Tony Storm win, champions, toast themselves, celebrate. This was a proper wins and losses matter reminder of like this. Like, ironically, the one program that nobody likes is getting rematched. But in every other respect, like it's like, well, Sunday had consequences, and now this is how it used to be.
Copeland didn't do a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we laugh at the Yob thing, but like there is a consequence of, well, he probably deserves another shot.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah,
he didn't really win many matches to get to the one contendership in the first place, but
but just about this was how those AEW pay-per-views used to wrap up. You'd be like, because this was when there was no screwy finishes and it was like almost no rematches. Oh, well, I guess maybe if he wants to fight him, he's going to have to wait another 6 months because he's going to have to get that, and it made it so much better.
It was all or nothing at one time. And all or nothing.
If you look at the universe, like you zoom out a little bit, almost everybody from Revolution was kind of facing a new, like Ricochet even in defeat, didn't fancy her anyway, want this. Like everybody is kind of looking towards this different direction than where they were at prior to Sunday, which is really good booking and good work into all the individual characters.
From one Max to another, Max Caster was in the ring doing his best wrestler alive thing. Thanks to Max. Thanks to Maximaniacs.
Malachi Black going to answer the open challenge, isn't he?
making his shirt the most popular shirt on Shop AEW. He's the most popular member of the Acclaimed. He tries to do his "Let's go, Max! You're the best wrestler alive" chant. Doesn't work, obviously. He calls the fans stupid. But he says whoever answers his challenge is stupid as well. It was Takeshita. And the fans quite rightly say, you effed up to Max Caster. But he says, oh, you must be here to ask me to join the Don Callis family, right? I can main event the Tokyo Dome. I can get recording contracts. I can even do something you can't do. Beat Kenny Omega. So Takeshita kills him with a forearm, pulls him up when he got him beat, and hits his Raging Fire to get the 1-2-3.
Yet again, Max Caster being narrative glue in this role can be entertaining in his own little vacuum, his own zone, but it's a access all area zone because people from other zones can enter this zone
to do a thing and then relate it to their zone.
But basically, this was Caster is good at eating. That's fun, but also this segment pretty much functions to tell you, don't worry, I understand why you'd be concerned. If you're being cynical and maybe it's, justified, you'd look at Takeshita losing to Omega and think, well, see you again in 4 weeks. No, he's still going to be around. Like that, it just felt like a deliberate exercise in reassurance. That's the good news. The bad news is him saying, and that's why I was the most popular member of the Acclaimed, they cannot go to Bones Caster.
I think that's where they're going.
That's where they're going.
But after all this, you do something fun like this. The best use of Max Caster, being an arsehole, that rubs people the wrong way. He's got a really good quality, or a bad one, whichever way you want to spin it. You do this after Bones gets betrayed by Caster, beat up, blindsided because he's the babyface and he's the better wrestler. They have a match. Bones wins, goes on to bigger and better things, and then this is Caster's role. It's so frivolous and lightweight to do this stuff. As good as it is and as effective as it is indirectly on the rest of the narrative, you cannot then do the blood feud. You know what I mean? It's in the wrong bloody order.
It is. I want to believe there's something a little bit more creative coming with how we get there, and that's coming out of face.
It's like who's going to win the big battle of the ex-member of the Acclaimed? Is it Anthony Bowens or is it the guy who loses every week as a comedy gimmick?
Yeah. I've got the answer, by the way. It's Billy Gunn. That's who wins in the end.
Evidently.
It's always Billy Gunn.
Yeah, I thought that moment he said that line, I was like,
you can't.
But you split a long time ago.
With no stakes.
Yeah.
And Anthony Bones isn't bothered by it. Why would he be?
Considering that he created the tag team, I would like to think Tony Khan would see this as a real passion project. And the way that AEW's been of late, I'm willing to just gamble on them having the idea that we can't see yet about how this all makes sense.
I mean,
because it shouldn't.
It'd have to be a great one.
Bones, you want to kick his ass, you've had ample opportunity with open challenges week in and week out.
Exactly.
But he doesn't want to. He's gutted that they've split up. He doesn't want to go out there and beat his ass. They were mates, and he's probably sad.
Like
that
on Collision when he binned him off, he was like, "Oh,
he's like, yeah, he's not bothered,
Yeah,
the whole idea wasn't like Caster's being a heel, and Bones is like, come on, let's do it the right way, and like they're having shouting matches. The heat was, or the story was, oh, you're being really annoying. Could you stop it? And then they were like, let's break up. Oh, you're too annoying. I can't be arsed with you.
It was a bad split.
A terrible split.
We see footage of I'm the Learning Tree. Chris Jericho on the Learning Tree attacking Gravity and Bandito before that ROH
What
title
a video
match.
package. Made us feel like important.
Jericho
And nasty.
unmasked Gravity, and then he's there backstage holding his mask. Gravity is the perfect word to introduce their situation. Jericho,
Chris Jericho.
Beef Jericho.
He embarrassed him in front of his family.
Oh, go on, Chris Jericho, just retire.
Scared his sister, made his mother cry. How do you come back from that? How do you look her in the eye now? Bring this on yourself, maybe. But Jericho's done with people.
I'm the Jericho.
The time is over, and he crumples up the mask.
Yeah,
It's all right, this.
Yeah, it's all right. I still don't want to see it.
Was it real heat, or were they like piping in it? That looked like I might have to go and watch that pre-show thing.
Have you watched the Big Boom AJ match?
No.
Yeah, need to watch that first.
No, I'm saying the video package. I refuse to believe. If anything else, I would have been alerted on X to people going, Jesus Christ, Chris Jericho did all right there.
Yeah.
No one said anything of the sort. I think it was just a good video package. Ultimately, this Chris Jericho feels like a way more believable Chris Jericho. That everyone hates me for reasons. Let's lean into it and be annoying. That was awful, excruciating. Like it's not working, and you think that me saying it's not working is going to make you
That's
think
the
that's
heat.
the heat. It is actually working. Like that awful buffering circle of this is not getting anyone anywhere. I think he's realized that sucked, and now he's trying to be mean and like this new thing of like everyone's being too careful, not being careful enough around Chris Jericho, and he's trying to be like mean again. He can play sinister in an underrated way, Chris Jericho. Put it this way, right? Chris Jericho, he's not like a big hard man or anything, but would you want to be stuck with him when the party goes bad? Like, have you some of the stories in his autobiography and stuff like that? Like, would you want to be like around, Jericho? He would give such awful vibes if you catch him at the wrong time of night, and he's channeling that Jericho-ness about him in this character, and it's better than it's been.
Yeah.
It's still not like, what's Jericho doing next, but it's a lot better than it's been.
Then Sidgwick got sorry.
I forgot about this.
One women's match on the show. It was Willow Nightingale versus Penelope Ford. Early shoulder tackle by Willow. Snap suplex gets a 2 count, but Ford does a matrix dodge thing, hits a drop kick in the corner. Willow is on the apron. Ford goes over the top with double knees to the gut, takes to a break. When we come back, Willow fights back. There's a big spine buster for a near fall. Ford slides out of the Doctor Bomb, though, and tries a backslide, but Nightingale powers her into a gory special. Ford escapes by biting her forehead, hit a top rope crossbody, and licked Nightingale. Nightingale responded with a running power slam. Ford gets a flash cradle for 2. Ford successfully hit her Matrix Stunner as they trade kicks. Tries to do it again, the Matrix dodge and the Matrix Stunner, but she gets pounced across the ring for the 1, 2, 3.
That was funny.
Yeah, same with the bullet time.
Yeah.
But it's a dog.
Then post-match, Ford grabbed a chair and lightly touched Willow Nightingale in the back with it.
Made Hulk Hogan look like the Undertaker on Canyon. What the hell was that? What the hell was that? Right, okay.
Oh, Statlander ran down, drop kicked the chair into Ford's face, helped Nightingale up. He was like, "Get off me!" Oh, it's you. It's all right. Megan Bane hit a double clothesline and hit Statlander with an F5.
We haven't done it for a while, but we got into the habit of doing it. Hell, maybe we'll do it again. Yeah. Did a couple of unfiltered wrestling opinions podcasts, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And oddly, I thought I got the name Willow Nightingale thrown at me. And I thought that's odd because you'd want someone who divides opinion or like a sacred cow who, some people think Misawa's overrated, okay? Maybe want to that kind of wrestler I was expecting to be thrown at me so I could say my unfiltered wrestling opinion of them. Someone threw Willow Nightingale at me, and I went, I'm not doing this just to be contrarian or as a thought exercise, but when you think about it with Willow Nightingale, yes, she's amazing. Yes, she's so over. Not really. But that's AEW's fault. I do think it is, to a degree, it is promotional malpractice. That's someone who was as over as Willow, who had such an unbelievable crowd connection as Willow did with the fans in AEW. I will not defend Tony Khan on this. It's pretty bad. In fact, it's really bad. She should have been on the title chase a few months ago, okay? It's terrible from Tony Khan to not maximize what he had with Willow Nightingale. But to be unfiltered and to look at it from every single perspective, I vividly recall saying, yes, Willow Nightingale had that awesome match at All Out that just solidified her case, right? Is Willow Nightingale in that Kyle Fletcher groove of every single time they do something on telly, it's better than the last time you saw them? That Ricochet thing recently of, Christ, he's better every week. She has matches sometimes where they're just there. And again, it's difficult talking about a woman because in the women's division, you don't get that weekly. She doesn't wrestle as often as Kyle Fletcher. Or it certainly seems like she doesn't.
It's not one for one in any category, is it? Yeah.
So it is hard. But at the same time, Statlander's been in this division and she's just awesome. Statlander versus Penelope Ford was so much tighter and sleeker than this, which was, it got into that lock step for 2 minutes at the end. But my God, she had senton on her knee. You know what I mean? Like, you cannot be doing that when you're the size of Willow, when you're a powerhouse, when you're a horse wrestler. Like, I think Penelope looked like that kind of hurt her. You kind of do like that. It's like, it's not as if you're aiming, like Ospreay's like heel kick, when he has to like, not looking, aim his leg that high and hit them on the flush of the cheek so it looks like you're hitting them in the jaw. It's a senton on the entire top. You've got a big landing spot. You cannot be doing that on someone's knee. You cannot be doing that on someone's knee. That could have went so much worse. And expect to be, all right, okay, you're really popular, so go and be the ace and win all the match. I just don't think that spot was like really, like, I couldn't believe it, to be honest. And the match outside of that was, and I realize I'm committing treason here by saying bad things about Willow Nightingale, but it really wasn't good. Any of this wasn't good.
Yeah, I didn't like this, but I felt that it was more, like, so just right to isolate those things as well. But for me, this was a proper, like, actions have consequences match. The actions being that we didn't have this to preview yesterday. That neither
I'd had this lowest ceiling imaginable on this.
Neither of the women are being profiled in any capacity.
Like, well, Penelope Ford is, to correct you, and she's a total loser. Like, I'm not saying that, like, the wrestling character Penelope Ford had a tag team win alongside Megan Bane.
Yeah,
but she loses for the next. Yeah. She's in that 6 weeks. You lose the matches to the stars we're trying to push,
and then they reveal at the end that the match was supposed to be this low level thing because it's really in service of the Megan Bane character coming out and squashing people. And we know from watching wrestling forever that if somebody's like the dominant heel, the match they're coming to disrupt or attack after the fact never meant anything anyway.
Yeah,
that's we've seen that a million times. So even after it's aired, you're being told
that was souring on someone alarm.
Yeah.
What the hell is that? Is that the water cooler?
That's the water cooler post-flood. It's weird how the one thing that can control water. Yeah, it is.
It's still going.
Coolosaurus Rex. Yeah, because like if you're filling up your bottle, it takes a while. And now it just makes the loudest noise in the bit. I guess somebody's finished filling up the bottle.
I'm on edge.
The one thing
the roof could collapse.
The one thing that's designed to actually dispense water in this building now makes the noise of a drill for some reason.
But that was the only women's match on this show, Sid. Before we get to the name of the games, you have to get to the aim of the game.
The aim of the game is to identify to the hour, minute, and second the first time you hear the first note of the first entrance theme for the first woman to come out and compete for the only women's match on Dynamite, with the idea being if we can nail it to the hour, minute, and second, the exact time this one women's match starts, it'll really put in bold, italicize, and underscore. This pattern reeks at this point, especially after the women stole the show at Revolution with the Hollywood ending, and you're doing this spreadsheet nonsense, this apathetic, patterned nonsense by having one women's match around the 125-minute mark, with the idea being, get this out of the way, and then they'll stick around for the main event. It is just such an awful pattern at this point. And we think, or at least I think, I don't want to put words in your guys' mouths, of they're clearly putting these matches on at this specific slot more often than not to think, well, if you look at the psychology of the audience, if they're going to stick here for 2 hours, if we get these bloody women just before the main event, we have to put them on, otherwise the Wokes will kick off. Then if we put them close enough to the main event, then they'll bloody keep watching. It's even more of a joke than it was last week, because you got another reminder of Toni Storm. I mean, she's better than friggin' Dralistico. You know what I mean? Just to use one example. So I get increasingly sick of this, despite otherwise being in a good mood with AEW, and you're thinking, right, okay, Sedge, I kind of get what you're saying, but you are talking a lot. It is a mouthful. Can you just jingleize that for me real quick? Sure can. Don't worry, guys. When the women come out to play, the main event ain't too far away. And that's the aim of the game. And the name of the game is, well, this is ladies' night, and I'm thinking, I want a night. I don't know, just try and make it different, you know?
Stuff in it.
Thanks.
Is this anything?
Thanks, as always, to the Panda Blair himself, Adam Blair, at Adam Wilton 4, and Jose Palomares, at the Whole 11, the guys who always take care of the
data
for this sort of thing. Thanks. Obviously, very popular strategy of mine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, has been
gridlocked.
Been ruined by these. So you went 120.
Well, wait there,
Sorry.
pal. Just give us a second. Stepping on my dick here. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. 1 hour, 23 minutes, 44 seconds. Adam Wilbourn went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Michael Hamflett went 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Gridlocked.
And the results are in 1:25:34. Match time of 8 minutes and 39 seconds for those keeping count of that
That
sort of thing.
sounds about right.
means,
Same thing every week.
Dr. Fed takes the win, moves on to 2 points. You won, Michael. Enjoy the point. I hope it makes you very happy. Dear Lord, what a sad little life, Michael. You ruined my day completely so you could have the points. But I hope now you win Ladies' Night and you finally get some lessons in grace and decorum, because you have all the grace of a reversing dump truck without any tyres on. Michael, take your point and get off the podcast.
That's excellent.
Congratulations.
It's all good stuff.
Okay. Renee Paquette. It's the women's section. She's backstage now with...
This is ladies' bit.
This is ladies' bit, and I'm thinking, oh, what a bit.
We don't do bits, of course.
We don't do bits. They do.
But Renee is there with Mercedes.
Money.
She's selling a bruised throat, obviously. So instead, it is Renee who says, Fresno, seller, do you say it?
I love Mercedes going, that was rubbish. Like the disgust on her face, like contrasted with the juxtaposed with Renee like getting into it. I like their chemistry that they've established. It's really good.
Billy Starks joins them. Her notes from Revolution read, "Don't get kicked in the throats." Right. Starks says, "Look, the two of them both accomplished a great deal. Or Mercedes has, and so has she. She was the first ROH TV champion at the age of 19. They aren't that different. Wrestling is their lives." Starks says, "Look, yes, you say that money changes everything. Next week, I'm going to become champion." Mercedes says Starks is, well, she's way out of Starks' league. She shoves Billy in the face and says, "Next week, there's a price to pay when you mess with Mercedes money."
Sooner than I thought to get to this, making me think, am I talking out of my ears here? There's no ROH Supercard this year, is there?
Nope.
Nope, there's not.
Nope.
So Athena needs something substantial to do around this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
She going to Dynasty, and then they're going to rematch it All In.
Maybe. Well, Toni Storm mentioned both of them, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
You got Forever Champions, you got Bell Collectors, so they're opening all this up. They're wanting you to start thinking about this for these big cards. So yeah,
absolutely. Because I thought, despite her history at the Liquor Center, which I've seen, and she worked in an entire building, you know, I just did think Dynasty and an AEW pay-per-view when you don't have that hardcore ROH fans who are willing to go with the Athena Billy Stark story because they're enchanted by it. That wouldn't exist in AEW. There are people who just don't bother with ROH who watch AEW.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad it's happening next week. But are we getting Athena versus Mercedes a Dynasty Dynasty?
Maybe.
Following that, Tony Schiavone's in the ring and brings out Will Ospreay, who's moving very awkwardly, of course. He's got bandages and stitches in his head.
It must be a bruise.
He says he feels like he's been stabbed in the ribs, but he's still standing. Said he was scared for his life at Revolution, but thanks everyone for their support. Puts over Carl Fletcher. One day he's going to be world champion. If they stand in the ring again, he hopes he'll be the better man once more. But he's in trouble with the missus. He had to lie to her. The day before the cage match, she said she was nervous and said, please don't do anything stupid off the top of the cage. We all saw what happened. Ospreay said he's in his 30s.
We're all in our 30s.
But then, as he was on the top of the cage, scared, obviously, he sees all the fans holding their phones up and someone saying, please don't die to him. Goes to the back, 15 missed calls from his missus, and she's like, checks he's okay, congratulates him on the win. He's like, can't believe you jumped off the flipping cage. But then, I got confused by this bit. He said, I'll be back on Friday. I'm going to cook you a dinner and give you a damn good seeing to. He's already said that. He's going to be back on Friday. He's going to good seeing to, like a staring contest or something?
No. Seeing to is, another way of saying that Will Ospreay is going to have full sex with his missus.
Nice.
Missionary, doggy, hair on top, all the positions.
All three of them. Everyone.
In my notes, Schiavone says he understands all of that. But what's next for Will Ospreay? And Ospreay responds by saying, if you want to be the guy in AEW, there should be something around your waist. But there's an issue. Cope's got a title match next week. Swerve's got the title shot at Dynasty. When should he call his shot? He says when it matters the most. And he turns and he faces the All In Texas sign. Says he's on a mission to main event that for the AEW World title. And how he does that is winning the Owen Hart tournament. He says, look, if it's against Cope, first time meeting. Swerve, can't wait for the rematch. Mox, he warns the king a word in advance. An assassin is coming for the throne. Ospreay wants to be the guy because he knows he can do it. He wants to be a world champion because his name is Will Ospreay and he's on another level.
Quick note on the booking. With the exception of Hangman versus MJF, I really like how, again, I don't think the zones will go away forever, but there is the sense that you don't have to be like stuck within your narrative zone. Ospreay and Swerve both winning has, again, theme of this Dynamite, theme of AEW recently, matters. And now there is a map and a pathway to the world title picture, and it's better because Cope's going to get out of the way. Which I like the booking and the fact that Revolution matters. So often it has felt like big matches happen, the big singles matches for the stars who need to have the big singles matches, and it doesn't really impact title pictures. These matches just kind of happen. That's different this time around. So that's good. On Ospreay's performance, the last minute, that challenge, that declaration of, no, it's not Darby Allin, it's me. Huge sigh of relief. Thank God. That's the guy. It's weird, I'm fickle, because Darby Allin had an amazing 2024. He had the Ospreay match. He was great at the C2. He was great at Grand Slam. Like, he had those iconic moments. His creative in Anarchy in the Arena was tremendous. It did feel like it is his turn. It is his turn. You can't go and do a side project, right, and expect to come back. If this...
So a life risk of a side project.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If this Moxley stuff was amazing and, people were like, the Derby stuff was so good. I can't wait for him to come back. Maybe he could just... But you can't, because it hasn't been very good at all, this Moxley stuff. And this is an AEW problem, but there's so many great candidates to be world champion that I'm sorry, there is going to be a level of fickle in the fan base. Anyway, so when Ospreay did that, and like the tonal shift and the way he escalated it, it was almost as like the line was pointing alongside his arm to the All In, just building in importance in tone. His declaration of, who wants it? I'll have some, was really, really good. The storytelling thing, I liked. A bit too English for this crowd, evidently. A bit too Essex for this crowd, which is weird. I would never want him to lose that because he's so authentic, and that's what makes him work in this context. But America is seeing to. What the hell does that mean?
He going to give her a shagging?
Yeah. Or an eye test? Does she need glasses? That must be it. They hadn't a clue what he was on about. I would never want him to lose that authenticity because it's magic, really, this Ospreay babyface AEW character. But I did think he kind of lost some of that. What I did like was, I don't think this was necessarily a conscious response to, a lot of people said similar things about the cage match. Unbelievable at times, they might have missed the peak and done things too much. I liked Ospreay not just being, oh, I'm a Superman, Spanish fly off the cage, I'm hurt, but I've won that, so I'm going all in. Him saying, no, it was stupid. Of course it was stupid. I'm not denying that it was stupid. Just, again, he always finds a way to be quite affable and relatable and balancing it with being like a living Spider-Man at the same time. So a bit too Essex, a bit of a flat reaction to the Essex. Don't lose the Essex, please, because I just don't want you to not be authentic. And then the idea, oh, God, it's not Derby, thank God.
Yeah, most of this was very good, and the all-in build was great. I didn't love like a certain tone early doors because it reminded me of why sometimes I still don't connect on that deeper emotional level with some Will Ospreay matches, because you never want to sound like the grifter circuit. But like there are occasional moments in a Will Ospreay match where I am so wowed by the performance, I'm reminded that it's a performance and it lifts me completely from the fiction. Now, that doesn't mean I can't enjoy it. Guys doing a Spanish fly for cage. However, like it's just different. And like I've always used Omega as a comparison because they make similar stylistic choices, and yet I don't ever feel like I'm like Omega betrays the story a little bit in the quest for action or whatever. And he sort of did that for me a little bit in the promo. Like there was an element of like, what am I being asked to take this Carl Fletcher thing as? You can box it off and say, one day, catch your ass down the road and we'll fight again. But right before this was the kind of end of the world, friendship destroyed, this has got to end in a cage. And then immediately in the aftermath, it's a bit like, yep, I'm the bloody best wrestler. I can't bloody help myself. But I do think there's a line there where part of that is being the affable, charming, babyface champion in waiting. So but so there was a little bit of it, but I maybe pursue it anyway because it's part of what makes you Will Ospreay.
I think he still approach that particular part of the promo as if he thinks Fletcher can be redeemed.
Because of Will Ospreay would, because there's...
And Will Ospreay has been redeemed from an association with Don Callis.
True, yeah.
And did you see the Collision promo that was on the countdown as well to Kyle Fletcher? It wasn't like, I hate you. There was an element of that, but it was more like just, he was totally hurt. That was his character's approach. So I think when he's talking about Fletcher in this promo on Dynamite, it was, yeah, it's done. I kind of had to do it. See you down the road. I want to be your mate again, deep down.
Yeah, it was... The hate was more one way from Fletcher. Ospreay,
yeah, I think so.
Because he's young and a bit impetuous and he's desperate to beat
and Ospreay's been there.
Yeah.
I loved how Ospreay put him over as well, like saying, you're catching up.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be better than me and I'm in my 30s. I like that.
And Kenny hasn't done that to Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
Shows the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Kenny won't quite go all the way to say...
No, I just think Kenny's a bit cold at times. He put over Ospreay in the promo.
He did put him over. But not in the way of like, I think you could be better than me. That
I don't think it was a deliberate choice. I think that's just Kenny's way. It's just Kenny's way.
Renee's backstage with Trish Blythe, Joe Watt.
No, he is. No, he's a bit of a... He knows how good he is, Kenny Omega, isn't he?
He says him and Willie will see each other in the ring sometime soon. Congratulates Ospreay on his win at Revolution, but he also wants a world title match at All In. And they're going to have to keep protecting Will Ospreay from Joe Watt. Renee says that everyone wants to know, did you deliberately hit Cope at Revolution? And it's not, of course not. I've done everything to try and take that world title from Moxley, but that rat, Wheeler Yuta, saved his king. But he'll be damned if he'll let anyone stop him from fulfilling his destiny and becoming AEW World Champion.
It was the best executed bit of the entire main event for me, was the Jay White element of it. Like, he did do it on purpose. He did. And Jay White's the kind of good scheming heel that can... like hide that just enough before, like he's almost desperate to reveal that he did it on purpose. That's the kind of heel he is, but he can't yet, because otherwise what's his master plan being about? I thought that was the one good element of that. I don't care. Like, I don't care. We've done it all. It feels like we've done everything with Jay White.
Nothing's really worked.
Yeah, so I don't know if another heel turn is going to fix it, but that was obviously what they were teeing up. Like, if not a heel turn, like something that's going to trigger Cope going nuts or whatever, because he did. He hit him on purpose.
Every time I see Jay White, I'm sorry, I don't want to go around the houses with. He's an enigma. I never know how good he is. Every time I see him, I'm like, oh, forget you're here. He's like, oh yeah, Jay White's on this roster. Some of the best matches I've ever seen involve Jay White.
Sometimes feels like,
and yet I still don't care.
From our admin background, if you were a booker, it's that one task that you almost forget, and then it gets to like 4:30 in the afternoon. Oh, I haven't done the Jay White.
Yeah.
Some photocopying that needed to be done for that meeting tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
It's like if you're looking at all your list of top guys.
Oh, Jay White.
Why didn't you remind me about Jay White? Only got half an hour left now.
Renee approaches Hangman Page in the back, ask him about Revolution, but walks past MJF. They bump into each other. Page asks if he wants him to finish breaking his neck. Page says, look, you tried to set me on fire last week, but when you do something like that, you really have to mean it. On Sunday, you let the mask slip. You really care what the fans think of you. And MJF's glad that Page thinks he wasn't actually going to set him on fire. He'll call Page's bluff. Page doesn't realize what's next. You got a fluke victory, but when I go on to become a multiple-time world champion, first ballot Hall of Famer, greatest of all time, and you fail to reach the pinnacle, you'll tumble all the way down, wallowing in your own self-pity. When your mask slips, MJF says, and you don't think that you deserve the fans' love, you're right. Sooner or later, the fans are going to grow tired of you. You're never going to win the big one. I'll do it over and over again, laughing at you on top of the mountain. Page is like, we'll see, won't we? And they just stare down, and MJF's the one that slips
I
away.
love that element. Like, this has got the dynamic perfect. Everyone wants a belt. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants that belt.
Yeah, strongness.
Main event time. It was Orange Cassidy versus Hechicero in the International Title Eliminator Tournament first round.
A little twigglety counter thing you did was real cool.
Yeah. There's two. The thing is, there was two good things in this match.
Carpenter Dead Man early on, doing the old rope walk, hands in the pockets thing, but he just jumps down, doesn't do anything.
He's our Undertaker.
Cassidy.
You've done it now. You kind of made a big mistake. Puts his hands in his pocket.
Hechicero tried a handspring and landed on his head. Cassidy faked a dive, did a kip up. That took us to a break. When we come back, during the break, Hechicero targets the arm, and he's targeting that more as we come back. Cassidy manages a crossbody off the top, but can't hit his spinning DDT, and gets hit with a swinging hammerlock backbreaker by Hechicero. Cassidy comes back with a stun dog millionaire and a spinning DDT, tries to kip up, but this time his leg gives out. Signals for the orange punch, but his arm's injured, so he goes up top slowly and dives right into an arm bar, has to get a rope break. Tries for another stun dog, that gets blocked, as was an orange punch. Hechicero tried a swinging torture rack, only for Cassidy to get a mousetrap for the flash win, and post-match, Speedball Mike Bailey comes out and bows to Orange Cassidy. They're obviously two of the men that are going to be in the Eliminator 4-way next week.
I understand, right, that I'm a total hypocrite and hard to please. And I'm not campaigning generally for like longer matches on TV. This needed more time, I thought, to flesh out the story. Like,
especially with an ad break in there.
Yeah, it just felt like I saw how long
the story.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think I had enough time to develop it. But the story, I think, was just a general Orange Cassidy thing of he is pissing about too much too early. His plan of suckering Hechicero in has failed. He gets his ass kind of kicked by a Hechicero. He's telling two body parts, but he's crafty enough in the end to get the win, to eke it out. That was generally what they were trying to portray. But what I get at by saying this is like an abbreviated version of the story I think they were trying to tell. I don't really believe it, nor did I like it, and I don't think it had enough time, is that, remember Orange Cassidy selling, and yes, it was a different thing, but his body started to fall apart deep into that international title run. That was some of the best selling you've seen in North American wrestling for years and years and years. You know what I mean? Like, Buddy Matthews going after him. Like, just killing him.
Different parts taped up each week.
Yeah. I felt none of that watching this when he was going for his legs. I don't think he had enough time to develop it. It just felt like I put some of this on the time constraints. Maybe some of it on Cassidy himself. I just thought he dicked around too much at the start. You know, and sometimes it's like, oh, he's being clever, he's laying traps. I just thought he was... There are times when I think there's certain choices he makes where it doesn't feel like it's in service of catching someone out deep down the stretch. It's just, it's Cassidy, and this is what I do. Like, when he does that, you know what I really don't like? That elbow drop when he just drops off the top apathetically. And in Hechicero caught him. There are times where I think, good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that you're getting your arm broke on the back of doing that. It's outright disrespectful. It's not like cagey or crafty. When an Orange Cassidy match doesn't work, it really doesn't work. But so few of them don't work. This one just didn't, and I was quite cross with it.
Disappointed after that, because I was hyped up.
I really thought this would be really good as well. A total letdown. That bit when Hechicero just friggin' jumped from like by one set of ropes over the other and he's amazing when the stuff clicks. But yeah, Orange Cassidy, I love him. He made me actively cross in this match. I just thought you've tried to go through the beats too quickly, and I just didn't buy any of them.
Yeah, and it just fell into that 50-50 obvious winner, obvious loser. And we knew Orange Cassidy was going to win, but you didn't have to have the match play out like that. This is for you're effectively in the semi-final of a tournament, because the next match is the final. So you can't book these as obvious winners, obvious losers. They tried not to with Speedball Mike Bailey and the Beast Mortos, and he was a wild card making his debut, and that's even more obvious. And they didn't, like it was tournament level competition. This was just and they shouldn't be 50-50, but how many of the AEW matches with an obvious winner go 50-50 anyway? This was one of them. And it was in the main event slot as well. And it wasn't wrestled like it was almost as if it was moved 10 minutes before showtime. It was supposed to go 1 second, and they've been told now we've had to switch things up and you're going last. It's like, we haven't really got the structure for a show closer. Well, too late.
It just felt like two guys who, in their own very different ways, are great at setting traps, just doing stuff. I was really disappointed by this.
Well, let us know your thoughts on that and the whole show in the comment section below, or on X at WhatCultureWWE. Well, actually, they can follow all three of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
Follow Michael Sidgwick at
Sidgwick.
Follow me at Adam Wilbourn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE, and make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. But for now, this has been the Dynamite Review. My thanks to Hamflett, Sidgwick. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Yeah!